Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever felt like the life you dream of is just out of reach? What if the only thing standing in your way isn't a real obstacle, but something you can't even touch? And what if I told you that every breakthrough begins with one terrifying, but necessary, step? Every life-changing moment you long for, the business you've envisioned, the relationship you desire, the bold choice you've been avoiding. It all sits quietly behind a single door. A door marked fear. And most people, they never turn the handle. They pause. They freeze. They whisper to themselves, "Not yet." But here's the truth most never learn. Fear isn't a stop sign. It's a signal. A signal that you're standing at the edge of something truly meaningful. If you don't act now, fear doesn't just stay put, it grows. It gets louder, stronger, until one day, it's no longer just a voice, it's running your life. But here's what we're about to uncover together. How to take control, how to move through fear. Especially when every fiber of your being wants to pull back. It begins with understanding the true nature of fear. Because fear isn't real in the way we think it is. It's a boundary we build ourselves. A shadow wall, formed entirely by the mind. Once you grasp this simple but powerful truth, everything begins to shift. The moment you stop treating fear as an enemy and start seeing it as illusion, you unlock the path to extraordinary outcomes. Fear is nothing more than an emotional reaction to a future that doesn't even exist yet and may never exist at all. So why let it decide your fate? Think about the times you've faced fear and pushed forward anyway. What happened? You didn't just survive. You grew. You became stronger. And this is true every single time. History is filled with men and women who achieved greatness not because they were fearless, but because they moved despite the fear. Andrew Carnegie is one example. Born into poverty, he rose to become one of America's wealthiest industrialists. Was he afraid? Without a doubt. But he learned something crucial. Fear is not a command to retreat. It's a message to prepare. You need to adopt that same mentality. When fear shows up, don't turn away. Look at it closely. Understand that it's pointing toward the very thing that could change your life. Your mind is like a garden. If you constantly feed it fear and doubt, that's what will take root. But plant seeds of courage, resilience, and belief, and those will flourish instead. It all comes down to this. The choice is yours. Right now, this very moment, you have the power to reshape your relationship with fear, to stop seeing it as your enemy, and start seeing it as your compass. A guide leading you straight to the place where your greatest transformation is waiting. That's how you begin to shift. That's how you become fearless. Once you truly grasp this concept, everything begins to shift. The fear that once felt overwhelming starts to dissolve. Not because you've mastered a clever tactic or trick, but because something deeper has changed. Fear loses its grip the moment you transform from within. Forget everything you've heard about conquering fear with techniques and surface-level strategies. Those are just temporary fixes, band-aids on a much deeper wound. The real breakthrough? It comes from changing who you are at the core. It's not about controlling fear. It's about becoming someone who is no longer held hostage by it. When you step into a new identity, the things that once terrified you, those paralyzing doubts, begin to look like predictable, manageable moments along your path to success. Think of it like this. What once felt like a wall now feels like a stepping stone. That's the power of identity. Take Thomas Edison. He didn't spend his time wrestling with fear of failure. Instead, he rose above it by embracing a completely different self-image. He saw himself as a relentless discoverer. When the world saw thousands of failed light bulb experiments, Edison didn't. He saw a process of refinement. Each so-called failure simply removed one more approach that wouldn't work. His sense of self was not tied to immediate success. It was grounded in continuous discovery and unwavering persistence. This shift in identity made all the difference. It turned fear into something irrelevant. And now, it's your turn. Your transformation will require the same kind of boldness. But it all begins with one powerful question. A question that has the potential to alter your entire life trajectory. Who must I become to make my dreams inevitable? This isn't just a philosophical idea to reflect on in quiet moments. It's the most practical question you'll ever ask yourself. If your goal is to build a thriving business, you can't just hope it will happen. You must evolve into someone who views every obstacle as temporary, not permanent. Someone who sees rejection not as a final answer, but as a redirection, guiding you closer to what's truly meant for you. You must become the kind of person who knows that consistent, determined effort always outweighs raw talent alone. This shift in identity doesn't come from wishful thinking. It doesn't happen because you repeat affirmations in the mirror. It takes action, deliberate, repeated, purpose-driven action that reinforces your new self-image every single day. Over time, your subconscious mind starts to accept this new version of you as reality. And once that happens, change becomes unstoppable. Henry Ford captured this truth in one unforgettable line. Whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. That one statement reveals a truth most people overlook. Your belief about yourself, your internal identity, is the foundation of everything. Who you think you are has more power over your future than any external circumstance ever will. Whatever the mind can conceive and truly believe, it can ultimately achieve. This isn't wishful thinking or mystical optimism. It's the practical power of identity transformation in motion. When your mind fully embraces a new version of yourself, everything begins to align. Your decisions, your behaviors, even your emotional reactions start to serve that new vision. So when you say, "I am the kind of person who pushes through fear," you're not just speaking empty words. You're giving a direct command to your subconscious, one that reshapes how you respond to every challenge, every doubt, every turning point in your path. And the beauty of this approach? It lies in its simplicity. You don't need elaborate strategies to defeat fear. What you need is one profound shift: how you see yourself. When your identity changes at the core, your actions follow naturally. No resistance, no forced motivation, just alignment. Think about it. The things that once seemed unreachable, they start becoming your new normal. Picture yourself at the edge of your comfort zone. The old you hesitates, feeling fear and uncertainty. But the new you, the version you're growing into, feels something else entirely: excitement. Same situation, completely different emotional response. That's the real power of transformation. It's not about changing what you do. It's about changing who you are. When you become the kind of person who welcomes uncertainty, who rises in the face of adversity, who views every obstacle as a stepping stone, fear loses its power over you. Completely. And here's the truth most people never realize. Your new identity isn't waiting for you far in the future. It's right here, right now, ready to be claimed the moment you decide you're ready to embody it. So choose today. Choose to become the person for whom fear is no longer a threat, and dreams are no longer just possibilities, but inevitabilities. This is your moment. Your invitation to step into a new identity where fear no longer dictates your pace. The world isn't waiting for perfection. It's waiting for the unstoppable force that only you can become. Now let's talk about something even more powerful, something that builds with time. The compound effect of courageous action. Courage isn't something you're born with. It's something you build intentionally. Every time you face fear head-on, every single time, you're not just getting through it. You're making a deposit, a powerful deposit into your internal courage account. And like any smart investment, that account grows. It builds interest. It strengthens with every brave step you take. Before long, that reserve of courage becomes unstoppable. It fuels the bold, extraordinary life that you were meant to live. And this is the hidden edge. The difference between those who lead and those who watch. Between the legends who rise and the ones the world forgets. Because courage compounds. When Ray Kroc first stepped into that modest McDonald's restaurant in San Bernardino, he didn't just see a small burger stand. He saw potential. Not what was, but what could be. Was he filled with uncertainty? Of course. Did fear creep in, whispering every possible reason he might fail? Without a doubt. But Kroc didn't freeze. He didn't let the noise stop him. Instead, he leaned into something far more powerful, an unwavering commitment to his vision. He didn't make one massive leap fueled by reckless hope. He simply took one courageous step, then another, and another. Each small, bold action added to the last, building a force of momentum so strong it didn't just change his life. It reshaped the world of business on a global scale. And that same principle? It's available to you right now, waiting to be activated in your own life. Your journey toward greatness won't begin with a dramatic moment. It starts with the quiet courage to take action today. Speak up in that meeting where you've stayed silent too long. Have the tough conversation you've been putting off. Take that single step that scares you the most. These aren't minor acts. They're deposits, each one reinforcing the foundation of your future. A future built on boldness and resilience. Because when you consistently choose courage over comfort, something remarkable starts to unfold. Your inner capacity begins to stretch. What once seemed impossible begins to look manageable. What used to challenge you now becomes routine. This is how the compound effect of courage works. Quietly, powerfully, always in your favor. And here's a game-changing insight. One that could transform the way you respond to fear forever. Fear and excitement create nearly identical physical sensations. That pounding heart, the quickened breath, the rush of adrenaline. These aren't signals to stop. They're proof that you're fully alive. That you're engaged, awake, and standing on the edge of a breakthrough. The only difference between fear paralyzing you and fueling you is how you interpret it. Champions know this. They train themselves to recognize these sensations not as warnings to retreat, but as confirmation. They're stepping beyond their previous limits. And once you make this mental shift, everything changes. Those once terrifying moments, they become fuel. They become evidence that you're growing, becoming more today than you were yesterday. And those feelings you used to dread, they become the very rocket fuel that launches you toward your biggest breakthroughs. This isn't just about thinking positively. It's far more intentional than that. This is strategic mental programming, a deliberate rewiring of your nervous system for lasting success. Your courage account isn't built on rare bursts of boldness. It's constructed through small, consistent deposits made day after day. At first, these moments might seem insignificant, but over time, they generate extraordinary returns that reshape your life. Every time you choose action over avoidance, every time you prioritize progress over perfection, or growth over temporary comfort, you're doing far more than just changing your external world. You're transforming yourself at the deepest level. You're becoming someone new. Someone who no longer needs to wait for courage, but creates it through consistent action. And remember this truth. The heroes you look up to weren't born with some supernatural form of bravery. They walked the same path you're on now. They built courage the same way you can, through small, daily choices. They simply made more deposits, more often, and for longer periods of time. Eventually, their compounded courage reached a tipping point, and from the outside, it looked like overnight success. But now you know the real story. Right now, in this very moment, you're standing at a pivotal crossroad. A decision awaits. Will you make another deposit into your courage account? Will you take that bold step that future you will look back on with gratitude? Will you embrace the temporary discomfort that leads to lasting personal transformation? Your courage account is open, ready for its next contribution. Choose to make that deposit now. Let it grow. Let it multiply. And then, get ready for the life that can only be unlocked through compounded bravery. Because when you fully master the courage compound effect, everything begins to change. The world starts responding to the version of you that has been hidden, waiting to be unleashed. And all it takes is one more brave step. Just one. That brings us to the next key breakthrough, the liberation from failure. Right now, you might be standing at the very edge of something big, a massive opportunity, a defining moment. But there's something holding you back. Not something outside of you. It's that silent prison in your mind, the one built brick by brick from the fear of failure. But here's the turning point. I'm about to hand you the key that can break down that wall completely. Ready? It's this. Failure isn't final. It's formative. Let that sink in for a moment. When this truth ignites in your awareness, everything shifts. You'll stop hesitating. You'll stop second-guessing. Because you'll finally see failure for what it really is. Not an ending, but a beginning. A powerful force shaping you into someone stronger, sharper, and more prepared. And when you stop fearing failure, you stop playing small. Let's take a moment to reflect on someone whose story is more than just inspirational. It's a blueprint for what unstoppable success really looks like. Colonel Harlan Sanders. Imagine this. Over 1,000 rejections. More than 1,000 doors slammed shut before anyone gave his fried chicken recipe a chance. Can you picture that? Was each rejection a failure? Only if he had chosen to see it that way. But Sanders made a different choice. a choice that separates dreamers from doers and average thinkers from extraordinary achievers. He decided that every no was not a dead end. It was a stepping stone. Each rejection didn't take him further from success. It brought him one determined stride closer to the thunderous yes that would change the world. That mindset wasn't naive optimism. It was strategic mental positioning. And it's a mindset you must begin adopting today. If you're truly serious about breaking through your limits and achieving real results, you need to see setbacks for what they really are, not roadblocks, but redirections. Not signs to stop, but signals to pivot towards something greater. Thomas Edison understood this better than anyone. When thousands of his light bulb experiments failed, he didn't interpret them as proof of inadequacy or incompetence. He didn't let failure define him. Instead, he saw those attempts as necessary eliminations, each one removing a path that wouldn't work and revealing the one that eventually would. That process, frustrating as it may have seemed, led to one of the most transformative inventions in human history. This is your moment to embrace that same truth, to let it sink into your bones. Every setback you've faced, every delay, disappointment, or rejection holds within it the seeds of your future triumph. But those seeds won't grow on their own. They're waiting for you to water them with fresh perspective, consistent action, and an unwavering commitment to your own evolution. Think about the titans who've reshaped our world, the visionaries, inventors, leaders. They didn't avoid failure. They experienced it more frequently, more publicly, and more spectacularly than most people would ever dare. But here's the difference. They never let failure become their identity. They didn't let the fall define their path. They understood something most people never do, that stumbling isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. It's essential. Without the stumbles, there's no refining, no sharpening, no real growth, and certainly no fulfillment. When you finally internalize this, something extraordinary happens. You liberate yourself from the heavy chains of perfectionism, the very chains that keep so many talented individuals trapped in endless cycles of overthinking and hesitation. And instead of being stuck in preparation mode, you start moving forward, consistently, with momentum, because now you understand every mistake, every misstep holds within it a lesson, a gift, a key that pushes you further along the path to mastery. Your failures are not your enemies. In fact, they are some of your most powerful teachers. And that realization changes everything. From this moment forward, make a bold declaration to yourself. I no longer fear failure because I now understand its true purpose in my journey. Let those words sink in. Let them set you free. Feel the weight of hesitation begin to lift as you step into a completely new relationship with challenge, adversity, and growth. The road to extraordinary achievement isn't about dodging failure or walking around it. It's about redefining what failure actually means. It's about flipping the narrative, seeing what others call defeat as your personal feedback system. Failure isn't a stop sign. It's your signal to adjust, to evolve, to grow stronger. And once you make this mental shift, you stop running from obstacles and start embracing them. You seek them out, not because you enjoy difficulty, but because you know that within each one lies a lesson, a chance to stretch your limits and sharpen your edge. Your next failure isn't lurking in the shadows to break you. It's waiting with open arms, ready to shape your strength, clarify your purpose, and elevate your potential, if you allow it to. The real question isn't if setbacks will come. They will. The question is, who will you become through them? Right now, the door to your breakthrough is already in front of you. Will you allow fear, the fear of failure, to keep it locked? Or will you pick up the key of redefinition, and fling that door wide open? Because on the other side is the version of you you've been striving to meet. The one who is bold, grounded, and unstoppable. Your next breakthrough won't come in spite of your next failure. It will begin with it. The way you choose to respond, that's the difference maker. Will you stumble and stop? Or will you fail forward, rise stronger, and keep going until unstoppable becomes your new normal? And that brings us to the next critical element of transformation, the power of decisive action. While the world hesitates, waits, and overthinks, you must move. Right now, even in this moment as you're hearing these words, countless opportunities are slipping away. Not because you're incapable, but because indecision, the silent assassin of dreams, is quietly stealing your future one hesitation at a time. This isn't just a motivational idea. It's one of the defining factors that separates those who shape industries from those who merely survive in them. Make no mistake, decisiveness isn't just a trait of the successful. It is success in its earliest form. It's the embryo of greatness. Take Conrad Hilton. He stood at the edge of financial disaster. The country was sinking into a brutal economic depression. Experts warned of collapse. Friends pleaded with him to back down. But while everyone else saw risk and ruin, Hilton saw something else: opportunity. He understood a critical truth that many miss. Perfect conditions don't exist. Waiting for them keeps ordinary minds shackled to average outcomes. So, while others played it safe, Hilton made his move. He made a decisive choice. And when he purchased his first hotel, against all logic and advice, he wasn't just buying real estate. What Conrad Hilton really did in that moment wasn't just buy a hotel. He declared war on average thinking. While others froze, overwhelmed by uncertainty and fear, Hilton moved. He didn't wait for guarantees. He didn't retreat into hesitation. He charged forward. And in doing so, he laid the foundation for an empire that would span generations. This is your moment to forge that same decisive mindset. Yes, gather information. Yes, be thoughtful. But then decide. Decide with absolute clarity and conviction. Because the truth is, the universe responds to committed action in a way it never will to endless hesitation. The world doesn't move for those who wait. It moves for those who act. When you discipline yourself to make decisions quickly and fully back them with focused, intentional follow-through, you generate a kind of unstoppable momentum. This momentum smashes through barriers that would paralyze more tentative minds. And that's where true power begins. Aristotle Onassis, the legendary shipping tycoon who rose from nothing to international dominance, once said that the secret of business is knowing something nobody else knows. But here's what he understood that most people miss. That knowledge, no matter how rare or valuable, is useless without decisive action. Knowing alone doesn't change the world. Acting on what you know does. Your greatest edge in life isn't your intelligence. It's not your background, your degree, or even your network. It's your ability to move quickly and strike while others are still debating. It's the courage to act with speed and purpose while others remain trapped in the endless loop of analysis and hesitation. And that is how you begin to claim your extraordinary life. Think about the decisions you've been putting off, the business you've been planning but haven't launched, the honest conversation you've been avoiding, the investment you've researched over and over again but still haven't committed to. These aren't just unfinished tasks on a to-do list. They're battlegrounds. And right now, they're quietly deciding the trajectory of your future. When you build the habit of decisive action, you don't just put out fires, you prevent them. You don't just catch opportunities, you attract them. You become the kind of person the universe rewards. Why? Because you radiate purpose. You move with direction. And direction is magnetic. So make a commitment, starting today. A commitment that won't bend or break under pressure. I will decide quickly, and I will change my mind slowly. Live by this code, and watch your world begin to change. Feel the surge of clarity when, instead of saying, "Let me think about it," you say, "Here's what we're going to do." Notice the shift in how people respond to you when you speak and act with certainty. That level of clarity earns respect. It commands attention. And it opens doors you didn't even know existed. The world doesn't reward those who know the most. It rewards those who act the most decisively on what they know. You may not have endless resources. Your network may be small. But when you combine bold, decisive action with unshakable commitment, something powerful happens. You tap into a force that can propel you far beyond competitors who have more tools, more money, more connections, but less conviction. Your destiny isn't being shaped someday in the future. It's being forged right now, in your moments of decision. Not next week. Not once everything feels ready. Not when circumstances are perfect. Now, while others hesitate, you choose. While they overanalyze, you act. While they hope for clarity, you create it through the sheer force of your decisive, committed movement. This is what sets you apart. This is your competitive edge. This is how legacies are built. Decide, commit, act, triumph. Now we arrive at the sixth and final key, the discipline of focus. Right now, as you hear these words, your mind is the battleground. This is where your future is being decided, not by chance, but by what you choose to focus on. Don't underestimate this. Your life is moving with unrelenting momentum in the direction of your dominant thoughts. This isn't mystical philosophy. It's neuroscience in action. Your brain's reticular activating system, the part responsible for filtering your reality, is constantly working to validate what you believe most deeply. When fear rules your internal world, you're not just feeling anxious. You're programming your mind to find proof that your fears are true. That's the trap, and most people stay stuck in it. But when you flip the script, when you take control of your focus, you activate something extraordinary. Paul Getty, one of the wealthiest men in modern history, didn't rely on luck. He succeeded because of his relentless mental discipline. While economic turmoil sent others into chaos and fear, Getty trained his mind like a warrior. He didn't focus on losses. He focused on hidden opportunities, the ones most people were too afraid to see. And that's the mindset you must begin developing today. Your mind is the most advanced targeting system on the planet. Whatever you consistently focus on, it expands, it sharpens, and it begins to show up in your external reality. That's not feel-good fluff. That's the functional reality of how your brain operates. So when fear inevitably rises, and it will, you must train yourself to shift focus immediately. Not on what you fear, but on what you want. This one mental move is the dividing line between those who live with purpose and power and those who merely survive. Change the questions you ask yourself, and you change your entire life. Instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong? Ask, how can I use this moment as a breakthrough? Instead of why is this happening to me? Demand, what is this preparing me for? And instead of wondering, what if I'm not good enough? Replace it with, how can I bring even more value than anyone expects? Because in the end, the quality of your life will always mirror the quality of the questions you consistently ask. Take a look around at the people who've achieved extraordinary success in any field. They aren't always the most talented. They're not necessarily the most connected or the most privileged. But what they are, without exception, is focused. Deeply, relentlessly focused. They've cultivated the mental discipline to eliminate distractions and channel their energy with the precision of a laser beam cutting through steel. And where is that focus aimed? Directly at their highest priorities. In a world that seems purposefully designed to scatter your attention across 1,000 directions, this level of disciplined focus becomes your greatest competitive edge. When others are consumed by the latest crisis, the newest distraction, the endless noise of outrage and negativity, you rise above it. Your focused mind becomes a powerful force, creating exactly what you train it to see. This is not just motivation. It's high-level mental strategy. And it starts with a commitment, one that you make right now, without compromise. I will protect my focus with fierce determination. I will aim my thoughts toward solutions, toward opportunities, toward growth, no matter the circumstances. Can you feel the shift as you declare that? That sense of clarity cutting through the fog of doubt? Because when you commit to holding this focus, especially when fear and uncertainty try to pull you off course, you generate a kind of momentum that breaks through walls. Obstacles that stop others cold, you push through them like they were paper. Here's the key. Your mind is waiting for instructions. It doesn't decide what to focus on, you do. So ask yourself, will you program it to look for fear or possibility? Will you train it to spot only danger or to uncover hidden opportunity? Will you use the mind's incredible power to justify excuses or to engineer breakthroughs? That decision is yours, and it must be made deliberately, every day, every hour. Because here's the truth. Focus creates your reality. The thoughts you dwell on are shaping your future with unshakable consistency. Your dominant mental patterns are writing the story of your life, moment by moment, belief by belief. So choose wisely, focus with intention, and become unstoppable, because on the other side of focused thought is your extraordinary life. And now, we arrive at the 7th principle, the strategic use of discomfort. Let's get one thing clear. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's not a sign that something's gone wrong. It's the signal. It's the doorway to everything you've ever wanted but haven't yet claimed. Right now, at this very moment, you are standing at a critical crossroads. One path is smooth, familiar, and easy. It feels safe. It asks nothing of you, but it leads directly to mediocrity. The other path? It's rugged. It's uncertain. It will challenge you and stretch you and demand every ounce of your strength. But it leads to something infinitely greater, greatness. And the path you choose, right here and now, will shape everything that comes next. Understand this truth deeply. Your nervous system is still running on ancient programming, hardwired to chase pleasure and avoid pain at all costs. This biological wiring made perfect sense for your ancestors, whose daily survival depended on conserving energy and steering clear of danger. But in today's world, where growth, not survival, is the goal, that same programming has quietly become a cage. A beautifully constructed, invisible prison, and its name is comfort. Your comfort zone may feel safe, familiar, even pleasant. But make no mistake, it's not freedom. It's a well-decorated cell designed to keep you exactly where you are. Think of Muhammad Ali, widely considered the greatest boxing champion in history. Do you imagine he glided through effortless training sessions, smiling through each round? Of course not. Ali didn't sugarcoat his reality. He said it plainly. I hated every minute of training. But I told myself, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. That one statement reveals a universal truth about human transformation. It's not reserved for athletes or icons. It applies to you, to anyone striving for greatness. Here's the formula. Temporary discomfort, applied consistently, leads to lasting growth and expanded capability. The fire that shapes you must first burn you. Starting today, you must begin rewiring your relationship with discomfort. Don't run from it. Lean in. Each morning, ask yourself, what have I been avoiding? And then, go straight for it. Make that difficult phone call first, not last. Tackle your most demanding project while your energy is high, not when you're drained. Speak that truth you've been holding back, right when the impulse hits, not after you've had time to rationalize your silence. This isn't about random suffering. It's strategic discomfort. Every time you choose the harder path, you're doing something far deeper than checking off a task. You're rewiring your nervous system. You're stretching your internal limits. What once caused anxiety slowly becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes your new standard. Because your growth zone begins exactly where your comfort zone ends. Picture yourself as raw steel. Untouched, full of potential, but ordinary. That steel, as it is, can't become a sword, a bridge, or a masterpiece of engineering. Not yet. It needs the forge. It needs heat. It needs pressure. Precisely the kind of intensity that would break something weaker. But you? You're not here to stay the same. With every exposure to that discomfort, every deliberate step into the fire, you begin to change. You become more resilient, more powerful, more valuable. You are that steel, and the forge of discomfort isn't here to destroy you. It's here to shape you into something extraordinary. Your personal forge is strategic discomfort. That's where real transformation begins. And the science behind it is undeniable. Growth doesn't happen while you're playing it safe. It happens at the edge, right where your limits are tested, where you're stretched beyond the familiar, but not broken. That edge, that's where the magic lives. Think of your body. The muscle that grows isn't the one used for everyday movements. It's the one pushed to the point of failure, then rebuilt stronger. The same principle applies to your mind. Mental expansion doesn't come from repeating what you already know. It comes from wrestling with new, difficult, and often uncomfortable concepts. The resistance you face today? It becomes the power you harness tomorrow. So ask yourself this. 1 year from now, when you look back at who you are today, will that future version of you be grateful you played it safe? Or will they celebrate the courage you had to embrace discomfort, to chase growth, and to take bold action despite fear? The answer to that question is what defines your future. Elite performers across every domain already know something that average minds continue to resist. Discomfort isn't something to avoid. It's something to pursue. With strategy, with purpose. They've discovered a secret. By systematically seeking out challenges, by choosing discomfort on purpose, they unlock unstoppable momentum toward mastery. This is what separates the exceptional from the forgettable. And it's not just about toughness, it's about training. Conditioning yourself to run toward fear, not away from it. That choice alone becomes the accelerant to everything you've ever wanted. While most remain shackled inside the golden prison of comfort, you'll be expanding. You'll be evolving. Rapidly. Radically. And it all starts with a decision. Comfort or greatness. You can't have both. That's the truth, one most people will never fully accept. But you're not most people. So today, make this your internal battle cry. I choose growth over comfort. I choose expansion over safety. I choose greatness over mediocrity. Feel the power in those words. Let them stir something in you. Let them surge through every cell of your body. And then move. Take that uncomfortable action. Make the call. Start the conversation. Begin the project. Feel the adrenaline rush not from fear, but from freedom, as you snap the chains of comfort that have held you back. Because your greatest life, the one that's calling to you, exists on the other side of discomfort. You're not the first to walk this path. Every champion who came before you has walked through the same fire. Now it's your turn. The question is simple: comfort or greatness? Today, you decide. And that leads us to the next principle, the Mastermind Alliance. Alone, you are powerful. But together, you become unstoppable. Right now, in this very moment, your biggest dreams, those massive, exciting, life-defining dreams, are sitting just on the other side of fears you've been trying to face alone. This is the critical mistake that holds even the most gifted, most driven individuals back, trying to do it all alone. It's the silent trap that keeps talent confined within the walls of mediocrity. But once you understand this truth, it changes everything. No significant achievement in human history has ever been accomplished in isolation. When you strategically surround yourself with people who elevate your thinking, who push your boundaries, who challenge you to rise instead of allowing you to settle, something extraordinary happens. Your ability to push through fear doesn't just increase. It multiplies. It expands in ways you could never experience on your own. This is the often overlooked power of the Mastermind Alliance. Andrew Carnegie, one of the greatest industrial minds and wealth builders in history, didn't credit his success to genius or solo brilliance. When asked about the key to his empire, he didn't speak of himself at all. Instead, he revealed the true foundation of his legacy, his ability to surround himself with others who possessed the strengths, knowledge, and qualities he lacked. This wasn't just delegation. It wasn't outsourcing responsibility. It was transformation through alliance. And this is the exact model you must adopt if you're serious about conquering fear and stepping into your full potential. Starting today, begin identifying the rare few. Those whose strengths complement your blind spots, whose courage awakens your own, whose boldness stretches your thinking beyond what you currently believe is possible. These individuals aren't just teammates or colleagues. They're the architects of your expanded capacity. Build or join a mastermind group. A community where your wildest, most audacious dreams aren't met with doubt or polite smiles, but with belief, with expectation, where fear is acknowledged but never validated, where excuses are exposed for what they really are, temporary narratives designed to keep you small. This group isn't casual. It's intentional. Meet regularly, not sporadically. Make the commitment to show up with full presence. Share your challenges openly, without pretense. Exchange insights with zero ego. Hold one another to the highest standard, with no room for compromise. Because the energy generated in a true mastermind alliance isn't ordinary. It's electric. It's catalytic. It creates a collective intelligence, a force far greater than the sum of its parts. This is how champions are forged, not in isolation, but in alliance. When fear strikes, and it will, your mastermind becomes more than just support. It becomes your unbreakable lifeline. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a massive decision. Your heart is racing, your thoughts are spinning, and fear has its grip on you. Alone, that fear might pull you back. It could derail days or even weeks of progress. But within the safety and strength of your mastermind alliance, everything changes. That same fear is no longer a threat. It becomes strategic caution, examined, processed, understood. The voices around you, those trusted allies, help you see what you couldn't on your own. They help you separate real risks from imagined ones. They remind you of who you are when doubt tries to convince you otherwise. Their support doesn't just comfort you, it empowers you. It reconnects you with the courage, the clarity, and the strength you temporarily lost in the fog of uncertainty. And perhaps most powerfully, their victories, real, visible, hard-won, stand as undeniable proof that fear can be conquered and that greatness is possible when you face it head-on. This is the turning point. What once felt impossible when walking alone suddenly feels inevitable when shared with those who refuse to let you play small. This is how your relationship with fear changes forever. The most accomplished people in history understood this principle well. Thomas Edison, among many others, realized that personal growth and lasting impact were never meant to be solo endeavors. They built alliances that didn't just support their fire, they fueled it. Those partnerships turned small sparks into blazing flames, burning through limitations and lighting up entirely new paths. You weren't meant to conquer fear by yourself. You're wired for connection. Human psychology is built for synergy, for exponential breakthroughs that come not from solo willpower, but from the strategic collaboration of those who share your commitment to greatness. So make this commitment right now. I will no longer face fear and isolation. I will intentionally form alliances that strengthen me, stretch me, and accelerate my growth. Can you feel the shift as you say that? Feel the pressure ease, the burden lift, as you realize you don't have to carry it all alone? Feel your capacity expand as you step into the collective wisdom, courage, and drive of a well-chosen mastermind. Because the fears that once held you back, they're about to meet a force they cannot withstand. A focused alliance committed to your breakthrough. Together, you are no longer tentative. You are unstoppable. Your next level of success is no longer a question of if. It's a matter of when. Your mastermind makes it inevitable. And just beyond that fear you've been facing, that's where your greatest life is waiting. Right now, in this very moment, you stand at the edge of a profound transformation. One foot in the world you know, the other hovering over the threshold of everything you could become. And what separates you from the extraordinary life calling your name? It's not talent. It's not money. It's not connections or luck. It's vision. Not just any vision, but one so vivid, so emotionally charged, so magnetic that it makes fear lose its grip entirely. When your vision burns brightly enough, fear becomes background noise. Doubt fades, hesitation weakens, and your actions become guided not by what you're afraid of, but by what you're drawn to. This isn't wishful thinking. It's not another motivational cliche. It's a psychological force, one that has taken ordinary individuals and launched them into the pages of history. A powerful vision doesn't just spark action. It demands it. Look at Walt Disney, a man who faced bankruptcy, rejection after rejection, and the crushing judgment of people who simply couldn't see what he saw. What gave him the strength to keep going through setback after setback? It wasn't stubbornness. It wasn't blind optimism. It was vision. He saw families laughing together in a magical place that didn't exist yet. That vision was so real in his mind, so vivid and emotionally charged, that giving up felt more painful than pressing on. His dream didn't just inspire him. It pulled him. That wasn't just ambition. It was destiny. And that same kind of transformative power, it's waiting inside you right now. Starting today, you must turn your vision into an obsession. Not a casual idea, not a maybe someday thought, but a sacred commitment. Carve out time, quiet, uninterrupted time, just for yourself. Disconnect from the noise. Silence the world's expectations. And reconnect with your deepest aspirations. Not the goals others handed you, not the path society says you should walk, but the vision that sets your soul on fire. This isn't just a self-reflection exercise. This is the crafting of your personal North Star. Write your vision in vivid, tangible detail. Engage all your senses. What will you see when this vision becomes reality? What sounds will echo through that new life? What emotions will flood your body when you finally live it? Who else will be transformed because you had the courage to pursue it? How will the world be different because you decided to rise? When your vision reaches this level of clarity and emotional intensity, something powerful happens inside your brain. Your mind creates a kind of tension, a gap between where you are and where you know you're meant to be. And that tension demands resolution. It becomes impossible to stay where you are. You must move forward. This isn't mysticism. It's neuroscience. It's the power of your brain's reticular activating system, a filter that begins searching for people, resources, and opportunities that were always there, but invisible to the version of you who hadn't committed yet. Fear doesn't vanish, but it becomes irrelevant. Imagine a mother whose child is trapped in a burning building. Does she pause to weigh the risks? Does she wait until she feels confident? Does she stop because she's afraid? Of course not. She acts. She moves because not acting is no longer an option. That is the power of vision. When your dream becomes that real, that urgent, that emotionally undeniable, fear still whispers, but it no longer commands. It's no longer in charge. Because now, something stronger is pulling you forward, your destiny. You'll begin taking bold actions, actions that once felt impossible, not because fear disappeared, but because your destination became non-negotiable. The vision is now too important, too vivid, too personal. The pain of regret, of staying stuck, of not becoming who you were meant to be. That pain now outweighs the discomfort of growth. And that's the moment you begin to transcend an ordinary existence. When your vision is reviewed daily, not just intellectually acknowledged, but felt deep in your core, it becomes more than a goal. It becomes a pulling force. It draws you forward through walls that once felt unbreakable. What used to intimidate you now motivates you. What once caused hesitation now sparks action. Think of your vision like a powerful magnet, extracting iron from sand. It draws out what truly matters and leaves behind what merely distracts. It helps you separate urgency from noise, purpose from pressure, truth from temptation. Now imagine yourself 1 year from today. Will that future version of you be celebrating the courage you showed, the kind of courage that reshaped your life? Or will they be carrying the quiet burden of yet another year dictated by fear? The answer lies entirely in the vision you commit to today, the one you choose not just to write down, but to feel, deeply, consistently. Make this your declaration, your personal power statement. My vision pulls me forward with such magnetic force that fear becomes nothing more than background noise on my journey to greatness. Let those words settle into your bones. Feel the shift inside you, the moment when you're no longer pushing against fear, but pulled by possibility. That single shift, from fear-driven to vision-led, changes everything. Your mindset, your energy, your courage. Because the most extraordinary achievers in history weren't fearless. They were focused, purposeful, obsessed with their vision to the point that fear faded into irrelevance. Their purpose burned brighter than their doubt. Your extraordinary life, your highest potential, awaits one thing: a vision powerful enough to command your soul. The fears that have kept you trapped? They're about to meet something stronger, something they cannot withstand. The magnetic pull of a vision worthy of your one precious life. So create it, feel it, breathe life into it. Let it shape your decisions, your habits, your identity. And as you live it fully, watch how it transforms not just what you do, but who you become. Your destiny is calling. Answer with a vision that makes fear irrelevant. And now we reach the final principle, the legacy mindset. Ask yourself this: 100 years from now, what will remain of your time on Earth? Let that question sink in. Let it settle into your spirit. Feel its weight, its depth, its power to instantly shift your perspective on everything you're facing right now. This is the legacy mindset. And it's not just another way of thinking. It's a force. A fear-destroying, vision-expanding, life-redefining perspective that stretches your impact far beyond today's challenges. It invites you to live not just for success, but for significance. Not just for comfort, but for contribution, the kind that echoes across generations. Your greatest fears begin to shrink the moment your vision expands. Consider John D. Rockefeller, a man who, by all accounts, could have easily been consumed by the endless chase for wealth and power. Yet, his most enduring fulfillment didn't come from what he gained. It came from what he gave. His greatest impact wasn't measured in dollars, but in the foundations he built, structures of service and philanthropy that continue transforming lives long after his time on Earth ended. This wasn't just charity. It wasn't surface-level generosity. It was legacy thinking in its most profound and powerful form. The moment Rockefeller shifted his focus from immediate gain to long-term contribution, everything changed. The way he approached risk shifted. The way he measured reward evolved. What once might have seemed daunting or dangerous became nothing more than a temporary hurdle in pursuit of something far more meaningful, something that would outlive him. And that same power, that same perspective-shifting clarity, it's available to you right now. Starting today, begin asking yourself a deeper question, one that cuts through fear, doubt, and distraction. What contribution am I uniquely positioned to make? Not, what will earn me praise? Not, what's the fastest path to comfort or applause? but rather, what work would make my life a meaningful link in the chain of human progress? This isn't about ego. It's not about success for success's sake. This is about contribution. The kind that comes from your soul and leaves a mark long after you're gone. When you connect to this deeper sense of purpose, when it resonates in your bones, you begin to see your fears for what they really are: small, petty, temporary, distractions that pale in comparison to the magnitude of the mission you've been called to fulfill. Your legacy won't be built in one grand gesture. It will be sculpted in the quiet moments, in your daily choices, in how you respond to challenge, in the courage you choose when no one's watching. And here's the beautiful truth: you don't need wealth. You don't need fame. You don't need global influence to live with the legacy mindset. You only need awareness, a conscious recognition that every step you take creates ripples far beyond the moment. Because when you push through fear, you don't just move your own life forward. You light a path. You show others what's possible. You become a living example of transformation. The struggles you endure today, they become someone else's roadmap tomorrow. The fears you conquer, they become stories of inspiration for those still stuck in hesitation. So understand this: when you rise above fear, it's not just personal growth. It's a contribution to the human story. You aren't just rewriting your destiny. You're expanding what's possible for everyone your life will ever touch. Imagine, for a moment, your great-grandchildren gathered around, telling the story of your life. What kind of courage will they speak of? What fears did you stare down? What obstacles will they say you overcame, against all odds? And what defining moment will they point to as proof of what's possible in their own lives, simply because you dared to lead by example? Their version of your story is already being written. Not someday, right now, with every decision you make, especially the ones you make when fear is standing in your way. Fear knocked at the door. Faith answered. No one was there. This timeless truth holds a powerful lesson, one you rediscover every single time you take action in the face of fear. Most of what you fear doesn't even exist. It lives only in your imagination. And like a shadow at sunrise, it disappears the moment you step forward with courage. When people look back on their lives, especially in their final hours, their greatest regrets don't stem from the risks they took or the failures they faced. No, their sorrow comes from the chances they never took, the courage they never summoned, the impact they never made. They mourn the legacy they could have created if only they had chosen bravery over comfort. But that doesn't have to be your story. Your legacy is already calling to you. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? It's urging you toward that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. It's nudging you to take that bold step you've delayed for far too long. It's pulling you to create something that only you can bring into the world. Something that could outlive you. Make this your battle cry. I refuse to let temporary fear rob the world of my permanent contribution. Say it. Feel the power in those words. Let them shift your entire perspective. Let them move you from fear into purpose, from hesitation into impact. Because when you embrace that declaration, everything changes. Your vision begins to stretch far beyond the present moment. What once seemed like a single decision today becomes a ripple that influences countless lives tomorrow. Your choices carry a weight you may not fully see now, but they echo across time, impacting people you may never meet, in ways you'll never fully know. The greatest leaders, the boldest visionaries, and the most transformative changemakers throughout history, none of them were without fear. They didn't succeed because they felt completely confident or certain. They succeeded because they chose to live with the legacy mindset. They looked beyond their immediate struggles. They rose above temporary discomfort, setbacks, and doubt. And they anchored their lives to something far greater than themselves, the enduring story of human progress. Now, that same decision stands before you. This is your moment. Your destiny is no longer some distant hope. It's right in front of you, just beyond the fear you've been carrying, just on the other side of that next brave step. So step through it, not just for your own transformation, but for your children, your community, your future generations. For the strangers who will someday find strength in your story. For the people who need to see what courage really looks like. Because your immortal impact, the legacy you're here to create, doesn't begin with a grand gesture. It starts with one clear, intentional, courageous choice. Thank you for being here. I wish you strength, health, and happiness on your journey. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more empowering content like this.